Hey up troops, A Littleton here again with another video, and this time we're going to be looking at how to play Thorn. I'm sorry about that, I don't know how that's triggered. I think my dog must have just walked under the table here and tripped a Razorbloom perhaps. Thorn has just been changed. She's just got the 1.5 times scope. Ranked is absolutely flooded with gunners playing Thorn. Now is a good time to learn how to play Thorn as well. The gun's really good. With the 1.5 times, sorry, it's even better. And you know what? A utility isn't bad if you use it in a slightly different way to what most people use it as. And I'll go through that later, obviously, in this video. I don't think I need to waffle on anymore. That's enough waffling. Let's get stuck into it. Getting started with Thorn's loadout then, and it's a good time to look at this. Thorn has access to the UZK, the M870, the 1911, the C75, the shield, and barbed wire. Now, the UZK before the 1.5, I thought was a really good gun to begin with anyway. The damage is super high. The fire rate isn't massive, but it's okay. And the recoil is barely non-existent. It's barely non-existent? It's absolutely non-existent, really. So I run an extended barrel on there, and which gives it 40 damage. If you don't have the extended barrel, it's 36 damage. But the recoil is fine. Like, you don't need to worry about the recoil. The other thing that I run is obviously now the 1.5 since it got added the other day. Much better to run a 1.5 on defense than a 1 times, although again, it comes down to personal preference. So if you prefer a 1 times, fair play, but you must be out of your mind. I don't use shotguns. We talked about this before. The M870 though is an unreal shotgun from what I'm led to believe. Obviously it's on Bandit and Jaeger as well, and I have used it a couple of times, but not very often. But if you want to get in close quarters, the M870 could be viable on Thorn because she also has the C75. So there is a sidearm that can back it up. Personally, I run the UZK and the C75. When it comes to secondary gadgets, all depends on a couple of things about if you need a shield for the sight, then you're going to have to take the shield. However, the barbed wire teams up really well with the Razorbloom because it's going to slow the opponents down as they trigger the Razorbloom. Barbed wire is always good anyway, but if you need the shield, obviously take the shield. But if the setup doesn't require it, I would advise running barbed wire. So just to reiterate, UZK, C75, and barbed wire is standard for me. Starting with the basics then, Thorn has access to this thing, the Razorbloom shell. Now, the Razorbloom shell can stick to any surface, whether it's on the ceiling or low down, or it can go on floors, or it can go on angles at the bottom of stairs, etc. It'll stick to anything you throw it at. A little bit like a Ella Grismot mine. Think of it a little bit like that. And it's a little bit more clunky than the Grismot. And it does need, like, it has to catch in a certain area for it to sit flush. Like, you can get it to sit on the bottom of steps, but it can look a little bit clunky when you're above it, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not quite as disguisable, if that's a word. Well, it is a word, but you know what I mean. That's, you know what I'm trying to say. To hide as you can hide other traps like Legion and Allah. So you just throw it to a surface and it sticks. Now, you can see the radius. If I go into a bigger area here, you'll see the radius of the Razorbloom. We go out to the edge of the radius. It's stand right here, and we ping the Razorbloom. It's 3 meters all the way around. Now, let me make this succinctly clear, because it's quite simple, but I never used to think it was quite simple. If an enemy is within this radius, the radius that you can see here, this 3 meter radius all the way around it, if an enemy is within that radius when the Razorbloom detonates, they'll die. It's as simple as that. It's as black and white as that. If they're in this radius here, if they're right on the edge, when it goes off, if they are there or if they are there, they'll die once it explodes. Now, in testing the Razorbloom shell, what I've not been able to understand is if the defender, if the attacker is not in the radius, so say it explodes and we're here, we won't die, but I can't figure out the damage, like the damage drop off. So you take quite a bit of damage if you're close to the edge of the radius. So if you were to be stood here when it went off, you'd take like quite a bit of damage. But I haven't been able to understand the maths as to what that is. The further away you are from it, obviously, the safer you are. And when you get about 5 meters away, so an additional 2 meters away from the radius, then you're absolutely safe. Now, also, you're also safe if you were to come through this door here, and there was a Razorbloom here, you come through, you hear it activating, you run back through the other side. As long as you're not in the line of sight of it, you're safe. However, just be careful, it can be a little bit buggy at times. I've been on the other side of a door and died once, and I had no idea why. So, just to repeat that, simple as this. If you're within this radius when it goes off, you die. If you're outside the radius and you're within 5 meters, you'll take some damage, and the closer you are, the more damage you take. If you're away from 5 meters or completely out of the line of sight of the Razorbloom, you don't take any damage at all when it goes off. So I just want to talk about where you place the Razorbloom and where I think it's most effective, because I see a lot of people placing like a Razorbloom here, for example. And even though that would do a job, because as soon as they turn the corner here, the Razorbloom would go off. All the attacker has to do to avoid that is go like that. And that's job done. Razorblooms, and this is the same for our Grismot mines as well, are better. Let's go into Freeze. I'll give you a better example down there. They're better used when the defender is already... sorry, I keep saying defender. When the attacker is already committed to being in an area. So what I mean by that is, if you were to put your Razorbloom here, right... Attacker's probably not going to see it on the way down the stairs. They get to here and it detonates, and all the attacker has to do is this to get away from it. And by that point, what you'd assume is you've got someone here waiting for the sound of the Razorbloom to go off. And they're going to peek on the sound of the Razorbloom. However, the attacker just runs back up the stairs. They're better positioned in areas where the attacker is committed to being there. So say, for example, here. This would be a really good spot for a Razorbloom, in my opinion. Because once that goes off, the attacker can't run anywhere. They get to here and it goes off and they think, right, I've got to either turn and shoot it, in which case you can swing and they're going to be looking down here. But if they are here, where are they going to run? Where's the closest way? They've got to run all the way back here. And in the time it takes all the way to run all the way back there, you're going to peek this corner. I hope I've made sense of that. So, for example, let me just go to the top of Freezer and show you the stair example. So, putting a Razorbloom here can be a great idea. When someone comes through here, they're going to be looking like this, going to look, and then it'll go off. However, all they do is this, and then they're safe. If you were to put the Razorbloom further down the stairs, say there, for example, well, actually not there, because they'll see it, obviously. There, for example, and you play here, and you wait for the Razorbloom to activate, if by that time the attacker get here, and they go, oh, Razorbloom's gone off, I need to run upstairs, they've got so much further to go from there to there than they have from there to there. Do you know what I mean? I hope I've made sense of that. In fact, I can give you another example at the top of wide stairs, I think. Let's run up here. So if you're putting it in a doorway, I personally wouldn't put it there. Because again, I know I'm repeating myself now, but as soon as you come through here, it goes off, you run back out and you're safe. I would put it somewhere... This isn't going to be a good example because it can be shot by a big window, but I would put it like there or there. And then by the time they came through the door and it went off here, they've got nowhere to run. They either have to push in and commit to get out of the radius, or they've got to run all the way back here, and in that time you can swing and kill them. This wouldn't be a good spot, obviously, because it'll just get shot from the window, but I'm just using that as an example. Also, shoot the radio. I beg that they get removed from the game as soon as possible. So there's two main uses, in my opinion, of the Razorbloom, and you've got what I would probably call push denial, or just area denial, and then also plant denial. So in terms of area denial, I'm just going to put it on a door here, for example, but you're going to put the Razorbloom there. The attacker comes through, you hear the Razorbloom go off, you know there's an attacker here. That's like your area denial. It will also then push them out of that area, but it's also information once you've heard it go off, because as you heard it, or you will hear shortly, the sound of the Razorbloom going off is distinct and very, very obvious. The other way of using the Razorbloom is to put it in plant spots. So you can put it on the default plant spot here. It's a thermite or ace or whoever it is, comes through the breach and goes, oh, I'm going to plant in default. They get to here, turn around, start planting, the Razorbloom goes off, forces them out of this area, and it denies them planting where they want to plant. You can do that as well downstairs. I'm going to run all the way down. We just have to talk while we do this. Normally, if anyone was any good at making YouTube videos, they would record that into 2 different clips, and they would just edit out this bit in the middle, but I'm not doing that, because I'm not very good at that. We do everything in one take. So, down here, this is your default plant spot here, so you can look at putting a Razorbloom in this area, or underneath, getting it in a snazzy position there. You're not even going to see that. That's actually a really good spot. And someone comes in to plant here, boom, Razorbloom goes off from underneath. That's actually, you know what? I'm claiming that as my own. That's actually a really, really good spot. Underneath the cabinet there, you just can't see it. It's invisible. I mean, we can see it now because we can see it flashing, but someone walks through, plants here, boom, thanks very much. So it probably won't kill them because they're going to be able to run back out of this area, but you know that there's then someone here. And in fact, you know what? The line of sight from underneath there, where's 3 meters? Let me just chuck it there for it. It does just get the door as well, so that's a good spot, actually. I like that. But yeah, plant denial is going to be a really good one. The other thing that you can do with thorn traps, and again, I should record this into 2 different clips, but we'll do everything in one take. Just going to nip out the map a second and jump back into attic. Is you can use destroyable floors to your advantage by placing the Razorbloom in the floor as well. So using top white as an example, I was going to use that there and then I realised that's not a soft floor. Using top white as an example, The gun is actually really strong at destroying surfaces, so you can open that, chuck one in the floor. Thanks very much. You're not even seeing that on the way in, are you? And by the time that starts going off, you turn around and go, ah, shit, where's the Razorbloom? And you're looking around the door. It's underneath there. Bear in mind, you could also do that the other way round as well, but it's obviously going to be far more obvious to do this if you were to do it below like that. But it's still pretty well hidden if you were coming this way. So yeah, you can get sneaky with them and hide them in certain places where you wouldn't normally see them, especially in the floor is a really good one. So just to talk about the timings of the explosion and the activation then. So once you've thrown the Razorbloom down, it takes 5 seconds to activate. You can see that from that circle filling up to the edge of the perimeter of the damage area there. Once that's then in place, you hear a little click. I don't know if you heard that then. We'll listen again. I mean, it's obvious from the circle, but you can hear a little click to say it's ready. You know, a little click there. Once the attacker goes within the area of the Razorbloom, you can see it's right here. If I make a couple of bullet marks, you can see where it is. Once Sledge goes with it, let me just jump on the other PC a second. There we go. Once Sledge goes within that radius, it will go off within about half a second of being in there. And the fuse takes around, and I can't time this perfectly, but it's about 2 seconds for it to explode. So you can see where the radius was. It was about there. You'll see when Sledge goes inside, it's about half a second, and then it'll blow up within 2 seconds. So you can see, within, it doesn't give you long. And you can just see here, by the way, where I'm stood, I took 0 damage as Sledge then. So whilst I'm recording, because I don't do everything in one take, I'm going to just see what damage I get if I was to stand a bit further back. So you can see I'm right on the edge there, just stepped in, off it pops, let's stand here. See, I've just gone down to 77 damage, right? So we threw the Razorbloom there. It was a bit further over, wasn't it, actually? The radius was there, right? Sledge stopped there. So he's, what, about half a meter to a meter away from the edge of the radius of the damage area. And Sledge is now on 77 out of 125 health. So he's taken the best part of 50 damage. And he's still, you know, a decent way outside the explosion area there. So I'll just test it one more time. Step in. Step out to there. So there I've gone from 77 to 37. So by standing there, I took 50 damage. By standing here, I've taken 40 damage. So you can see that even outside, directly outside the radius, even if it's not like the damage ends at that line, even being, you know, a couple of meters perhaps away from the radius, you're still taking 40 damage, which is a decent chunk. So let's look at some setups for Thorn then, and we'll stay on Oregon with the first one for the top 4. And I like putting one on the light, try and get it this side of the light so it's not obvious. And again, like I said before, you can't barely see that. If anyone sees that, they've got better eyes than me. And again, as the attacker comes down, by the time they get here and it detonates, it's a little bit too late for them to start running back this way. You're going to be playing in pit here. As soon as that detonates, you swing and make the most of it. You know where they're going to be, so you can pre-fire it. The other two, the one we showed you earlier at top white, in the floor. And then the other one on big window in the floor. Don't know why I've just reloaded there. Just throw the Razorbloom. Boom, there we go. So now we've got top light, big window, and attic covered by Razorblooms. You only need to worry about the breach or this door here on trophy to have to listen out for it. But again, these probably aren't going to kill anyone. And neither's the attic one, really. But you're going to get good information when somebody comes through there. This one, especially in late round, I don't know why. It always seems to be top white as the last push. And if you're in like a 1v1 and someone comes through here with 10 seconds left, this is going to be a lifesaver. Right, let's get on to Coastline. We're on to Coastline then, and this is all about holding VIP. Again, using that sort of methodology of not wanting to just put the Razorbloom here so they can't just run out the door. You can use these guitar stands to get one in between, or even closer this way. Put one on one each side. Pick your side. I normally go a bit here. And then when they come across and when they go through the door, don't put it on there. Make sure it's flat on the wall. There we go, like that. You can't see it then. And as they come across, by the time they get to here, it goes off. They can't run this far back. You're just here. Whatever area you're in, even back here maybe. Wherever you want to hold it from, really. The other one that you want to place down is using these sort of voids above the ceiling here. Again, not on the door, but above here. Once they've come through, you've then got a cover to know you're not getting pushed from behind as well. As soon as you hear that go, you can peek here, or you can even just pre-fire the wall. The other one I use for the plant spot in hookah, and I just place it in the floor. So you've got 2 to defend you, 1 to defend default plant in hookah. And holding out VIP is hugely important. I mentioned this in the mute video. But don't get killed from here. There's always some Johnson up here just holding this door. If you're playing in VIP, just remember, firstly, barricade this for a start. And always hit it twice. Once you barricaded it, hit it twice at the bottom in case you need to jump through. Now you can just vault through the bottom if you need to. But now once that's vaulted, if they open that, you know someone's watching it. If it stays barricaded, you can use this door, but I just make sure that's barricaded. And obviously, if you know someone's pushing bottom cool vibes, you can jump out of here, use the window, and that's the bottom of cool vibes there. So always punch it twice so you're ready to jump out if you need to. Another type of setup they haven't mentioned yet with Thorn is using them on hatches. Obviously, an attacker on a hatch can't get any utility off of a ceiling below, even if they drone it. So putting them under hatches is a really useful method of catching people out. I've died to it a couple of times myself, but by putting a Razorbloom just here, as soon as someone drops the hatch, it's going to trigger. It makes them either run this way or run downstairs. You can then force people through certain areas. So you'd put one here on the top of underneath new hatch. When they drop, they've either got to look up and shoot this quickly, or move this way, or move this way. Obviously, they don't want to be moving this way towards the enemies. So with that in mind, you place another one here. Not there, because that's not hidden at all. Here. So they fall and trigger this one. Then they panic and have to run over here, trigger this one. Maybe then they run out here and trigger this one. You can force people into certain areas, but placing them under hatches is really good. And this setup on Kafe is one I like to use a lot with this one here and with this one here as well. So we're on Clubhouse now, and red stairs lends itself perfectly to like Grismot mines and thorn traps. Stick one there. By the time it goes off here, they're already too far up to start running back down. It's a horrible feel. You're just here waiting for it to go off. As soon as it goes off, swing and push. On this kind of wall on stairs lends itself so well. We're going to do exactly the same thing over in garage, using this area here. Exactly the same thing there. And then finally, we're going to put one on the default plants in the server rack itself, in between the PCs, or just even in there. No one's going to see that when they come into plant. Boom, I'm planting. Oh, no, I'm not. And I don't know why I've just done that awful scenario. We haven't also shot the radio, so get rid of that. Yeah, they're the three I use in Clubhouse. So there's three examples of site setups that I like to use with Thorn. Get adventurous with it. Get sort of get around it, get amongst it, to quote Tom J. Sherlock. But just get adventurous with it. Get inventive. Use the idea that I've told you, that not to just put it on the wall there, on the floor there, or just right next to a door. Even here would be better because they've already committed to being in here. And if you're playing here, they can't just run back out a garage door. So I hope I've got that point across, because I've mentioned it about 90 times. But it's the same for Ella. It's exactly the same for Fenrir as well, by the way. This is a Thorn video, but I'm going to mention Fenrir. How many times do you see a Fenrir trap on a door like this? An attacker comes out and they get surrounded by Fenrir, and they just go, ah, and run away. And the attacker's got away with it for free. If you were to put that trap, say, here, the Fenrir gadget there, just so as soon as they came out, they were more committed, and they had nowhere to run away to. Just think about that before you place them down. So there we have it. That's how to play Thorn. Some details on a gadget and some setups that I like to use. She is a good operator, especially with that gun now, and you've got the shield there as well, of course. Use those Razorblooms in the way that I've described, and I think you'll be onto a winner. I say it every video, and I'm not going to change it on this one either. This channel's nothing without the people that watch it. So if you've watched 10 seconds, or you've even watched all of it and got this far into the video, thank you very much. This channel's nothing without the people that watch it. Nice one. Other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!